So today we are looking at large language models and where they actually rank amongst each other, specifically looking at their characteristics. Number one, which is intelligence. Secondly, we're looking at latency. We look at also the output speed, the price, and also the context window. So for those of you guys who don't really understand what was mentioned right here, let me explain. So the first one is intelligence. This is how smart the model is and how able it is to carry out complex tasks, like for instance programming, computer use, and a lot more things, even using it as an agent. Secondly, we have the output speed. This is the number of tokens per second. So essentially, you could actually visualize this as the number of words you are seeing being outputted in a second. Next up, we have latency. Latency is the time that is taken between when you hit send and the first token you actually see. Next up, we have the price. This is essentially how much it is to get responses of a certain number of tokens. Lastly is the context window. This is what the model actually remembers and has in its memory at a time. So to begin with, looking at intelligence, at the time of making this video right here, GPT 5.5 was actually released a few days ago, and GPT 5.5 is actually the highest and it's ranked number 1 and also number 2. And the second one is actually the Claude Opus 4.7, which is really impressive as it's near these models. And then we have the Gemini, the 3.1 Pro preview. Now, you could already visualize that these are your top models which actually perform the best in a lot of aspects, and we will actually be seeing them a lot more. Next up, we're looking at the pricing, and you could actually see that the GPT models are far more expensive than the rest of the models. For instance, we have the Claude models right here, which actually rank lower, and a few of them are actually smarter than the ones which are more expensive right here. Next up, we are looking at the output speed. So essentially, this is your tokens per second. So at number 1, we have Mercury 2, number 2 we have Granite, and number 3 we have the Gemini 3.1, the flashlight preview. And this model is actually smart, which is another advantage it has over the rest of the models right here. And you can see also the context window it has is by far the best, as it's at 1 million. Now looking at the latency, the GPT models actually rank highest, and this is actually not that shocking. Is because of the compute that OpenAI actually has. Then we look at also the Claude model, specifically the Claude Sonnet 4.6 Max. It's in the 3rd position, and then surprisingly Mistral Large 3. Well, I was actually expecting that the Mistral models will be ranked higher. It's because when I use Mistral, I always notice that the latency is really low. Gemini is also nearby, and that's pretty much amazing. Yeah, but if you look at the numbers right here, the gaps are really huge. Well, especially from the first and the second model, and also from the third and the fourth model. So really the competition is a bit more different, and you can see that. Remember, we also have the context window, and one of the models with the highest is actually Llama 4. This is pretty impressive as it can hold exactly 10 million tokens in the context window. So especially if you're working with a lot of documents or you're working with a code base, it would really be amazing. The only downside is more so that it's not actually smart. It's because its level of intelligence is pretty low. But if you are accompanied with another model and you have other forms of integration, it would actually work a lot more for you. Next up, we actually have Grok, and Grok has only 2 million tokens in context window, and it's actually a smart model with an index of 49, which is really above average with the higher models, which usually rank at a lower 50. So this model right here would actually remember a lot more things you are doing. So if you are a person who actually uploads a lot of your documents, or you are generating a lot of your code, this is a model you would actually want to also look at. Lastly, we have end-to-end response time. Okay, so this is from when you receive your first token until your last one, and the highest is actually from GPT 5.4x high. Okay, and it has 193 seconds, which is really quick. Now you would be looking at these leaderboards and actually wondering what are their uses. For instance, let me explain. The first one we have, which is intelligence, what its use is more so the capabilities as an agent, computer use, and also code generation. So if you are a developer, a programmer, or you're using it especially for its agentic uses, you would look at the level of intelligence. Next up is the pricing. The pricing, essentially, if you're using it via the API and not as a subscription, you would look at the pricing. These models actually become a lot more expensive as you're actually running them, especially the more smarter models. Well, as you can see right here, GPT 5.4 Pro X High is pretty expensive for a million tokens. It's actually ranked at $67 per million tokens, which is pretty high actually compared to Claude Opus 4.7, which is only 10 US dollars, which is also expensive. So this would actually be used a lot more on, enterprise software and also integrations. Not really the average user would actually be spending this amount of money. Now, the tokens per second, this is more so when you are using an application which actually needs a faster response and also to actually process information a lot more fast. For instance, if you are requiring speech, you would actually use models which are a lot more faster so that you can actually generate your text and then use another model that would actually speak with it. Well, we also have other models which are multimodal. You could also use those, though the downside will be actually the speed of your model. Then we also have latency. Latency is almost as near with what we're looking at as the tokens per second. Well, I haven't really looked at as much as what application this will be for. We also have end-to-end response time, and right here, this is when you want to actually receive your full response immediately, and models like GPT 5.4 actually rank higher. And what I've noticed is that GPT models rank really high in a lot of the benchmarks and all the features which are listed right here. What is its application? Well, I'm not really sure of its application, so there is also that. Now, with all this said, there's a lot of use cases. Make sure you actually know what you're actually using your model for, and you shouldn't anymore be asking which model is actually the best. It's because it actually depends on the characteristic or the features that you're actually looking at and also your use case. Well, I would actually say that there are models which are well rounded if you are an average user, and those are the models you could actually use a lot more. But do let me know which model you feel a lot more comfortable using and are actually enjoying at the moment, and I'll see you guys later.